Wait, what? Really? Okay.
Okay, with your host, Loren Weisman.
This is a fully licensed theme song for the show about stuff that makes you say, wait, what? Really? Okay.
This is Loren Weisman. This is the brand messaging podcast, Wait, What Really Okay? And how about this for a weird title? Mary Poppins Messaging and Practically Perfect Perceptions. What I'm going into here, and I first want to back up for some of the people that may not have seen the movie. I grew up on this. I remember watching it on VHS when I was a little kid, and a few weeks ago, I was able to get it and have my daughter, who's just turned 5, see it and watch it with her. And there was something, just this reconnection to it. I loved watching her react, and I love the reactions that I remember now being, 46, but feeling like I did when I was 6 years old. Now, in this story, for those that might not have seen it, it's this magical nanny that comes down to take care of these kids. It's based off of this series from, I believe it's P.L. Traver. I'm going to double check that. And in that, and I remember this from IMDb, the summary is the magical nanny employs music and adventure to help 2 neglected children become closer to their father. In seeing that again, it reminds me of the perception, and it reminds me of the elements of the neglect that goes into our messaging, and how there are other people that can't quite see it or can't quite see us. Now, she is referred to by these penguins, by this chimney sweep and others, practically perfect in every way. Now, in that, we're never going to achieve perfect messaging. It is impossible. This is an objective truth. Now, this is not a subjective opinion. It is impossible to clarify your messaging for everyone. And it's one of the things that kind of gets me, and it bothers me when people state, no, everybody gets this. Everybody gets this. I have it perfect. If it's perfect, then how come you don't have the connection? How come you don't have the engagement? How come you don't have the customers? How come you don't have the sales? In the middle of something perfect, or almost perfect for that matter, something magical, there isn't perfection. And it's not about striving for perfection, but this thing now coming back 40 years later, practically perfect in every way. And at the time of being a kid, it was, well, isn't she perfect? No, she's practically perfect. And it's not that we have to perfect our messaging. It's ever changing with the ebbs and flows, with the way toxic communication comes in, goes out, negativity. Something may happen. You could have messaging that is so incredibly strong, and then something happens in the news, something similar to your tagline, your title, your brand name, and now everything is exploded and almost started over again for you. And what works so well in one moment isn't the next. Now, as some people chase inside of their messaging, inside of their content for perfection, and these people have put out this stuff about the secrets to your perfect message, your perfect brand. Here's the secret. It's impossible. And it's a good thing that it's impossible, because if you had the perfection, and for the people that try to perfect a message to be heard by everyone, it doesn't connect with anyone. And I want to get this part out of the way quickly. Stop honing and shifting your message to try to get everyone to understand it. That's impossible. It's when people lose the intention, the authenticity is lost, the spam, the hype, the advertising turns into a situation of we are just going to blast out this. And in the middle of constantly shifting your message to meet everyone, it will eventually upset that person that first got it. Oh, this is great. And then it might upset them later, because now you've gone in a completely different direction. Now, in getting the perception of your messaging to the best place, to the closest place of your intention, it's not reaching everyone, and it's having that humble standpoint. No perfection, but maybe practically perfection or practically perfect. You stand in the foundation of what you have. So let's take a base message like this. You stand in the foundation of what you have. Now, from there, it goes into the discovery. What are the contradictions? What are the comparisons? What is the competition saying? And it's not saying, okay, I'm going to check out what the competition is saying so I can steal their keywords and just attack that. I don't think that's the most moral thing to do. A lot of people choose that route. I don't think it's best. I think it's best to understand the markets that they have. If you are a $50,000 or $500,000 company with a very similar messaging line and a brand messaging line to a $5 million or a $50 million company, it's not going to work well for you. If that $5 million or $50 million company is doing bad things too, that's going to hurt even more. So when we say the competitive and we look at and at the same time comparative, it's not necessarily looking at that to say, okay, these are the words we have to use. Because if you're putting in $50,000, $5,000, $10,000, $120,000 a year into your messaging, into pushing that market, into pushing the marketing behind this message that looks the exact same as somebody else's, it's really not going to work for you. They are the people that are out there pushing at a much higher ratio with the same words. That's who's going to be seen first. So in this mindset to be seen, be seen, be seen, how about authentically being heard? So it's understanding what's being said, and then maybe even if that message is true to heart and true to your intention, light adjustments, staying on your intention, but shifting the words around to find the melody in your heart, your intention, to reach a perception where other people don't automatically assume you're what's going on everywhere else. There was a course, an online course advertising campaign, and they were pushing some stuff out. I didn't offer the messaging that they had. It didn't look right to me. So I didn't go on the attack, but I said, look, it seems to me, I feel, and I was very careful to state in opinion and not fact, that it really is a bad idea to have this super course if you're not ready to be teaching or you don't have the authority to do so. So they came back at me, and not even in a bad way, but it was, we're here to help these people that don't know how to put a course together but have the authority to do so. To which my response was, great, but consider shifting your messaging because you sound like all these other people. And their response was, well, we wouldn't do that. And that's just snake oil. And that's insane. It is. But that's what they sounded like. They sat so hard in their intention that they couldn't see the perception that was out there. That it's, no one can think this. We've sat down, we talked about this. We really like this. That becomes a very dangerous thing to say when you're in a group of people that are all in agreement, but you're not realizing how your messaging can be read elsewhere. It's not focus groups. It's not polls. It's going a little bit deeper. It's not finding your SEO keywords. It's finding the message that is you. It's the discovery of your message. And then in that discovery, going to the standpoint of humility and understanding your intention may not be everyone's perception. Then the next step from there is the adjustment, the embellishment, not lies, the embellishing, the being able to look at the competitive, the comparative, the connotations that are out there, the compliance that's included. A lot of health companies out there, they're shifting in a very dangerous space because they're making claims they're not allowed to make, and then they come back, oh, well, we'll deal with this later. Why later? When you get the exposure, when you're seen, and now when you get shut down? It's looking at this greater understanding to not be perfect, but to be, coming back to the Mary Poppins things, practically perfect. Not everyone is going to get it. But when you hone that message with the considerations, massage that message in a way. Somebody else is saying X. Okay, let's look at where they're saying it. Okay, you have something, this is so true to heart, and I grew up in this, and I believe in this, and this word means everything to me, or these three words strung together are just everything to me. Okay, but if there's a negative connotation, trying to constantly drive that and put marketing money behind that, and having this one advertisement around that, that's not humble, that's not professional, that's ignorant. It's not getting you to get away from your intention, it's getting you to understand the array of where intention and perception meet. And as opposed to this perfect attack, as some people call it, it's more of a strategy and setting up a foundation so the strategy in those words have the room to change. A lot of people will put together certain campaigns and it has to go this way, and it's going to go this way for this long, and you're going to get these views and you're going to get likes and you're going to get comments, but where are the sales? Or at the same time, the polar opposite. The extreme of what are the hottest words? Who is buying something like this? There's a point where the artificial intelligence is so artificial, it ruins your authenticity and your authority with people. Many companies are experiencing this. They are getting the eyes on their product, but the way they're getting their eyes on their product is immoral and at times unethical. Promises being made that aren't true. Phrases and rewords going, oh, well, we studied this and these guys are doing really well, so let's copy it. We're going to get on their coattails. Should you really be on someone's coattails? And it's not necessarily about the perfect professional message. You can be professional, but make it a little bit more personal. And by keeping your intended messaging personal, humble, and professional, when it comes to perception elements, and being straightforward here, it will not make your message clear to everyone, but you'll have a better chance to engage that many more people with a greater understanding. It won't be perfect, but it will be practically perfect for you. And because you don't go into, or hopefully don't go into that mindset of this is the lock, that the adjustments can be made. Yes, to lock into a tagline, to lock into that one-liner, that bio, certain elements, you want those in place. And then it's that adjustment of the content on top. And that adjustment of the content on top can mean different videos, different styles of content, different leads. And I mean, unless there's something, major problematic, major negative connotation that has now occurred that you have to change things like product names, taglines, that can be in some ways a different story. Most of the time, that's not needed. But that next level, the campaign, the series of videos, the series of audios, how you're starting in, who you're emulating, what's working and what's not. We've seen in the podcasting world this just explosion of people trying to be Joe Rogan. They're trying to be perfectly like Joe Rogan, and it's not working. It's not working. It's not authentic. It's people that are trying to come off like a guy where they haven't put their homework in. They haven't put their research in. They don't realize the level of intelligence of this cat. They don't realize the pre-existing fame that he already had, all the things that he's already done. All of that is culminated to a point to allow him to go down the road that he has. And in that comparison to other celebrities, to be able to say, well, my intention, I want to be just like this person, so I'll completely act like this person. Well, this person has a different set of parameters, metrics, tone, temperature, audience. So they might not have to worry as much about perceptions because they've got that existing audience that they can grow. Certain people, when it comes to perceptions, yes, it sounds like it's a contradiction, but it's not. Somebody that's incredibly famous has a different approach to an audience than someone that is trying to build an audience, and especially someone that's trying to build an audience authentically. Look at some of these top-level life coaches. Look at some of these top-tier speakers, what they scream out on stage or these days online. Do you think they could truly, organically, authentically, and authoritatively say that stuff if they did not already have the money behind them, the fame behind them, and that, celebrity of sort behind them? Absolutely not. And the worst part to me, the thing that really becomes upsetting, is that they explain, this is what I did and this is how I did it. And when they leave out the parts of the story, when they talk from an intention that is lies, that is half-truths, that are made up of expired truths, that don't complete the picture, then the perception, and this is where the perception gets toxic. I'll just do what I heard them say. Many won't question that that's not the full story, and then these people crash and burn. I don't want to see you crash and burn. And I'm not saying to go negative, but question the people that you're placing into authority. Question the people that you claim or feel are authentic. Make sure the messaging lines up. Make sure it's not a template or a book that's written by someone else, that they're speaking out to you and sharing elements that are not all there. That can be incredibly dangerous for forward motion for you, especially in these times. Again, you have to have the perfect this, you have to have the perfect that. Here are these secrets. There's no perfection, and there really are no secrets. You could sign up for someone's course and meet with them every week and this and that. I'm going to give you all these secrets. Is that really authentic? Is that really true to heart, true to intention? To me, it's dangerous. It's a sales tactic. But coming back full circle to this, that differentiation and that humility in that differentiation of not trying to emulate the celebrity because they already have their existing celebrity base. They already have their fame. It's the people like David Byrne that go online. And don't get me wrong, I love the talking heads. But he is just another talking head when he explains how Twitter works because he has absolutely no idea. The moment he signed up, boom, all these people were following. The moment he puts something out, this is the regard. This is the engagement that he has. That doesn't work for the average person. The new entrepreneur, the new musician, the new author that begins to follow models and methodologies of these people, they take it, and that's where we see people that take the negative. It's a negative perception. It's a simplified perception. So just in the exact same way that we might misread someone else's intention, and some of them say, well, no, I'm not just, I've talked to a few celebrities about that. I'm not trying to say that this is what you do. But at the same time, for some of them, that is what they mean. For others, that's the perception that's coming off. So again, they're not going to solve that. And I know it gets a little confusing. But as you build your brand, as you build your messaging behind your brand, which is the foundation, it's the ground floor, it's the soil of everything that grows. In that, create that. And as you create that, create it for the perception of what you know to be true to heart, of what you know your intention to be. It's not moving off of intention. It's not going to a different narrative. It's creating an intention narrative that considers the perception narrative. It considers that it's not going to be perfect and it's not going to be perfectly found. Because there's certain people that they'll want that. We're just going to keep going for perfection until we get it. Sounds like a long-term invoice. If you can build that narrative, if you can work from a humble place and understand what is so clear to you might be so confusing or might read in a different way to someone else, it will make for a better journey in content. It's not writing a bio. It's not putting up a ad. It's not putting out a book. The consistency of the, for lack of a better word, practically perfect perceptions is to continually feed with content, to share and move different people that may be thinking different things, to align as closely as they can to your intention so they can connect as closely as they can to you. It's not getting the perfect 90-second video. It's not buying the perfect ad campaign. And it's not a marathon. This messaging, moving over to marketing, it's not a marathon. People say marketing is a marathon, not a race. No, marketing is part of your communication. Let's move away from this idea that marketing is this marathon. It's this forced thing. It has to go out and go out and go out. And, I hate marketing. And I'm just going to give this to someone else. You can't give it to someone else. If you're being authentic, true to heart, and true to you, you can have someone else working with it, running it, leading it, but it all has to tie back to you. And in consistent, constant discussions, communication, the understanding of what is out there, not even for a competitive, but what's the tone? What are the things that should be said in the last 24 days leading to an election that should be said differently when we're after the election and who knows if they know a winner, next to something that happens 3 months after that. Go back to massive things that have happened. Are you going to stay on point with the same voice after a massive tragedy or after a massive win or something very positive or something negative? It's not the perfect tone. It's not the perfect story. It's practically perfect messaging that is constantly growing, adjusting, changing, staying true and anchored in your intention, but being moved and massaged to try to build a connection and engagement with different people's perceptions. And lastly, when I say moved and massaged, it is not shifting the intention, the root or the anchor of it. It is shifting the way the words are put together. So you stay true, you stay ground in the foundation and the soil of what you have. But consider looking at that Mary Poppins, almost magical element, coming full circle back to the story, the IMDb lead on that, where it said it was these children felt neglected from their father. And throughout the entire movie, in everything that occurred and what the children were learning and how the children learned to communicate and how Mary talked to the father, there's an aspect of neglect that we put on our audience. We neglect them because they should understand this. And that brings it right back, and we're closing up, I promise. It brings it right back here where the father does a couple songs about this is what children should know, this is what children should do, this is how it should be. And then he was able to see things from a different view. And the children were able to see things from a different view. And then they were able to come together. And maybe they're not completely perfect, but they were practically perfect toward the end. And then Mary could move on. And now these children are no longer neglected by their father. Their father hears them. They hear their father. So I ask you, what can you do, or what part of your messaging is being neglected because you're so tight to the intention? Or on the opposite end, you're trying to make everybody understand it, so you constantly switch up the root and the foundation and the anchor of it. Let's make it a thing as we come into the end of this year and go into the new year, not to neglect the humble standpoint that other people, their perception may be off of what we want. And because it's off, it's not saying you don't get it, you're blind. You just don't understand. But making it our responsibility to give them a chance to understand it and see it through our eyes and help them. And you won't be able to help everybody. But in that humility, in that authenticity, and in that authority, you may be able to help that many more people to connect with you that much more and understand not only your intention, but also the messaging, the story, and the meaning behind it.
Wait, what? Really? Okay.
Okay.